Arthur story begins with a boy raised by farmers. One time his brother is in a sword fighting contest and his brother's sword breaks. And Arthur said, "No, don't forfeit, hold off for a second. I saw a sword." And he saw a sword stuck in a stone.
As the story goes, the sword that Arthur saw was no ordinary blade. It had been prophesied that only the future King of England could draw the sword out of the stone. Many men had tried to remove it, but all of them failed. That is, until Arthur pulled the sword and it slid out of the stone.
This is the earliest that Arthur begins to understand that something is happening in his life beyond his grasp. Gradually, this unusual young man does become king of all Britain.
The Arthurian legend basically tells about a young person who discovers their destiny and discovers how to achieve this destiny. He becomes the center of these medieval romances, where he is the quintessential leader. He is Rex Quondam Rexque Futurus, the once and future king.
It's amazing how much of that story has permeated our culture just sort of by osmosis. And the image we all have is that King Arthur lives in Camelot, which is a big stone castle. He had a wife, Guinevere, and also he is assisted by a wizard named Merlin. His knights of the Round Table looked for the Holy Grail, and he has a fabulous sword named Excalibur. It is this wonderful repository of symbols and themes and adventures that are all interlinked because they all relate to the court of this one marvelous figure.
The vast influence of the Arthurian legend is undeniable. But for more than 1,000 years, a fascinating question has lingered. Is it possible that King Arthur wasn't merely a myth, but rather a real man?
If we go back to the original accounts of King Arthur written during the Dark Ages, around about 500 AD, the Roman Empire collapsed and the Roman soldiers withdrew from Britain. And this country turned into complete anarchy. There were various separate tribes fighting each other. And what was needed was one single warrior or chieftain or king to unite them all. And Arthur is said to have been that person in myth and legend.
There are lots of theories on who King Arthur might really have been. And really, there's no clear answer. The Arthur that we think we know came from many hands, many authors, many writers who had slightly different takes on the Arthur story. We know the basic elements of the story, but the man himself remains a mystery.
According to historians, there are numerous versions of the King Arthur legend, many of which have been lost to time. But the most influential telling of the story dates to the 12th century, when a Welsh monk named Geoffrey of Monmouth claimed he discovered a long-lost account of early British history that recorded King Arthur as being an actual person who lived around the year 500 AD. Monmouth then published a translated version of this text, which he called The History of the Kings of Britain.
Geoffrey of Monmouth, in his text in the 12th century, this is what breaks the Arthurian legend wide open. What's fascinating is that so many of the things and places and events he writes about in recent times have been proven to be correct in terms of being the right time, the right place, and the right elements to be based on, many historians believe, real events.
Could it be possible that the tales of King Arthur are more than mere fantasy? Perhaps a clue may be found by examining a castle in southwest England that Geoffrey of Monmouth claimed to have been the site where King Arthur was born. North Cornwall, England. Overlooking the rocky cliffs of Bristol Channel are the ruins of Tintagel Castle. Built in the 13th century, this once mighty fortress is now a popular tourist attraction with a fascinating history.
Well, Tintagel is a really wondrous and mysterious location because it hides an enormous amount of knowledge about our past. There's this fantastic castle that is 900 years old. But below the ground, there's tons of information about hundreds of years before this, in the period when perhaps Arthur existed.
What's really fantastic and incredible about this spot in particular is that Geoffrey of Monmouth tells us that Arthur's born in Tintagel, and that has now been very conclusively proven to have very, very strong links.
Excavations beneath Tintagel have revealed the remains of an earlier castle that dated back to the 6th century AD. And a curious inscription found among the prior castle's remains offers evidence in support of Geoffrey of Monmouth's claim that the real King Arthur had a profound connection to Tintagel.